Assalamu alaikum. We are studying electronic commerce and I'm your instructor Saadat Nisar. Hopefully you are now in a position to understand the working of the internet. Let's try to refresh the concept once again. As you can see in the slide before you, there is a class B network 140.57 and there is a client machine A on that network which sends a request, an HTTP request to a web server machine B on network number 100. First of all, with the help of domain name system, we shall get the IP address of the web server B. Therefore, when the client machine types a URL with the help of DNS, that domain name would be translated into the IP address of web server B. Thereafter, the request packet would pass through the TCP IP stack and would be delivered to the default gateway R1, the router R1. You remember router R1 has got a routing table which it determines as to what is the shortest possible path through which this packet can be delivered to server machine B. It finds out through its routing table that it should deliver this packet to router 2, R2. R2 is the default gateway or the router which is attached to subnet number 100 where the web server B is hosted. So therefore R2 would then ask the network server sitting on network number 100 and ask it the MAC address corresponding to the IP address on the data packet. Afterwards, it inserts that MAC address on the data packet and deliver it to web server B. This data packet would move up the TCP IP layers inside server B, and this server B would then know that an HTTP request has been made. Accordingly, it would retrieve that web page from its hard disk, again convert it into packets, move it down its TCP IP layer and deliver it to R2. R2, consulting its table, sends it to R1. Now R1 is the destination router attached to the network where client machine A is hosted. R1 inserts the MAC address of client machine A on the data packets and deliver precisely to client machine A's hardware address. There again, the data packets move up the TCP IP stack of machine A and thereby the data packets, they are safely delivered to machine A and machine A has got downloaded on it, displayed on it the web page. So this is simply the mechanism whereby the data is transmitted across the internet and a web page request is accordingly fulfilled or satisfied. At this juncture, I presume that you have a fair degree of understanding of the working of the internet. Now let's move on to another topic, which is the understanding of electronic mails. How do we transmit emails across the internet? Okay, I give you an example. Say there is an email address john@bluesky.com. Now Blue Sky in this particular example is a telecommunication company which has established, which has arranged an email server called Blue Sky where a mailbox in the name of John is hosted. So using this account, this email address, the person John can send email messages, he can receive at this address certain email messages, etc. In order to send an email for that matter, John would first of all access the home page of the company Blue Sky, of the organization Blue Sky. Accordingly, it may have downloaded a web page where there are two text boxes. In one text box, he is asked to type his email address. In the subsequent text box, he is asked to type in his password. After typing in his email address and password, when he presses enter, then his link, his connection is established with the email server Blue Sky. Accordingly, what he can do is he can type the email message and send it to the desired recipient. Assuming that he wants to send this email message to a person, Bob. Bob's email address is bob@elink.com. Here, E-Link represents the email server where Bob's account is placed. Right? So, first of all, through DNS, the portion elink.com would be translated into the IP address of the email server E-Link. And then using that IP address, the email message from John would be delivered to person Bob and would be stored in Bob's account in email server called E-Link. Now, there are three very important protocols which I want to mention here. They are used for sending and downloading email messages. First of all, you should know the Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, or SMTP. This is the protocol using which email messages can be sent, they can be exchanged between different email servers. Right? Now, this protocol otherwise has no role in retrieving or downloading messages. It is only for sending or uploading messages. In order to retrieve or download an email message, you need to have another protocol. And there are two protocols which are prescribed for that purpose. One is POP3, that is Post Office Protocol version 3, and the other is IMAP, or Internet Message Access Protocol. There is a difference between these protocols as regards their working. POP3 records your email messages in your account, and whenever you access the email server, it would download all these messages in your client machine's hard disk, and usually it would not save or it would not host any further all these messages in its own machine. It would delete these messages on its machine. On the other hand, IMAP, Internet Message Access Protocol, is more efficient, is more useful. It keeps your email messages recorded or stored in the email server. It does not delete them when you download these messages. Rather, it keeps these messages saved on the email server. Therefore, you can access your messages from different locations. Obviously, these messages are stored in an independent machine, email server, and from various machines, you can access that email server and you can reread or re-access your messages in this fashion. So this is the basic discussion about the transmission of emails, their uploading, their downloading, etc. Okay, now we want to start our new major topic, which is web designing. And we shall study what are various markup languages which can be used for the creation of websites, web pages. In this regard, we shall have discussion on XML, which is Extensible Markup Language, then HTML, Hypertext Markup Language. We shall have a detailed overview or discussion on HTML starting from our today's lecture. Hypertext Markup Language, HTML, was in fact developed in America in late 60s, basically for military purposes. But later on, as the internet revolution began, it was felt useful, appropriate that this language be further developed and expanded and be used for the creation of websites. So therefore, we see there is a lot of popularity which this language gained in late 90s. Hypertext markup language uses tags. This language is as such not a programming language. We can say it's a language of tags. Now, what is a tag? A tag is that keyword which is enclosed in angular brackets, and this keyword called tag, it is known to the browser. The browser is programmed in such a way that it knows the functioning of different tags. These tags then they can be utilized to introduce, to apply certain desired style, format or effect on the contents. Right? So we can have different contents which we can enclose within the HTML tags, and accordingly these tags would apply to that content and they would produce some desired effect on the contents. Most tags, they have got their corresponding closing tag. So therefore, the same keyword is repeated in the closing tag and it is preceded with a backslash in the angular brackets. The content is enclosed between the starting tag and the closing tag, and a desired impact is thereby brought in, is reflected on the content. HTML is case independent. We can say this is not a case sensitive language. Therefore, you may write the keyword in the tag in uppercase or you may write it in lowercase. It does not make any difference. HTML has got a fixed vocabulary, so you cannot go beyond the prescribed tags which are programmed in the browser, which are known to the browser. You have not got that flexibility. This flexibility is available to you in case of XML, where you can create your own tags. We can have a discussion on that in relatively more detail later on. Then most tags, they have got their attributes. Attributes are those properties, those keywords which you apply, which you use in the starting tag, and they can play their role in bringing the desired effect, the desired impact on the content. So various tags, you will notice they have got their particular properties, their attributes. These attributes then have got their unique values, and these values are placed with the help of the sign, equal sign, as you will see, you will notice in the examples subsequently. The next thing I want to tell you is that you can view the source code in HTML quite easily. So wherever you access certain websites and you want to see their source code that is doable, what you need to do is that you click the right button of your mouse on that web page and you will have box appearing before you. You select the option view source and then you can view the code, the source code of that web page. You can see that in the slide before you there is a website, and overlapping on top of that web page you can see in the screenshot its source code. What you need to do is either you go to the view menu of the browser's top bar, menu bar, and then select the view source option, or you right click the mouse and do the same by selecting the source, and you can thereby view the source code. Then there is a simple, a very basic HTML document before you. Remember, each HTML document, HTML code would start with the keyword, with the starting tag HTML. You can see at the top the keywords HTML, they are enclosed in the angular bracket, and at the very bottom you see the closing HTML tag with backslash. Then subsequently there is a head tag. It has got its closing tag, and within the head tag there is another tag, title tag. It has got its starting tag and it has got its closing tag, backslash title. In between I have enclosed the text, the 3 words, my first page. This is the information, the title information, which in fact would appear in the blue bar at the top of the browser window. It would not as such be a part of your web page. Then comes the body tag, which has got its closing tag. And I have written one sentence, a simple page with just this sentence. Remember, all your content, your images, pictures, hyperlinks, your formatted text, everything that is contained in the body tag. Body tag is that tag in which you do all the operational work. So in this particular case, when this code would be executed, it would be processed and its result would be viewed in the browser, you will see the result like the one in the slide before you, a single page with just this sentence. So this is the processing of the code you saw. That code has resulted into this particular web page with this just one sentence on it. Then what type of data can be contained in a web page? We can have formatted text, we can have images, pictures, hyperlinks, tables, forms, headings, lists, etc. Variety of things can be put in the web page in the body tag. Let's examine a few tags which relate to the formatting of the text. So we start with the paragraph tag. You see, paragraph tag is represented by the letter, by the character P. This is the keyword. It has got a closing tag, but its use is optional. You may put a closing paragraph tag or you may omit it. It does not make any difference. In the example, you see, I have enclosed a sentence, education provides a better understanding of life. So this sentence is enclosed in the paragraph tag. Paragraph tag has its attributes. One common attribute, as you can see, is a line. So in the starting paragraph tag, after giving a blank space, I write its prescribed attribute, a line. Then I put its value as center, and then I have enclosed the word e-commerce. In this case, the attribute align, it may have values center, it may have values left or right. These are the prescribed values. You can choose among these values. So when I put align's value as center, the word e-commerce would automatically be displayed in the center of the window, browser window. Then there is a break tag which is represented by the letters BR. It has got no corresponding closing tag. Break tag provides a line break. Wherever it appears in the HTML code, it would at that place create a line break, and your document would be shifted to the subsequent line. Remember, a paragraph tag at its beginning provides a line break as well as a line space. Then there is the center tag. Again, I repeat the same sentence, education provides a better understanding of life, and this sentence is enclosed between the starting center and closing center tag. Accordingly, this sentence would be displayed in the center of your window. There are few more formatting tags. As you can see, the bold tag it is shown by the letter B. It has got its corresponding bold tag, and the word contained between the bold tags is and. So accordingly, the word and would become bold as an effect. Then italic tag, I tag, if we use this tag, the information contained between the italic tags would be converted into italic format. For underlining, we use the U tag. And again, I have enclosed the word and, so therefore the and word, when it would be processed, the code would be processed, the word and would automatically be underlined because of the U tag. Then big tag, the effect of the big tag is that it increases the font size of the text enclosed in between as compared to the regular text. The opposite is done by the small tag. So small tag, wherever it appears, it would reduce the size, the font size of the text contained in between as compared to the regular font size. Then a very common tag is font tag. As you can see, there are 3 attributes I have mentioned about the font tag. First is face attribute. I write the word font in the angular bracket, then I give a blank space, then I write its prescribed attribute face, and I put its value as Arial. And then I close the starting tags angular bracket, then I write the word internet, and then I close the font tag with the backslash. So accordingly, the word internet here, it would be displayed in the type, in the font type Arial. I may point out here that the value of an attribute, it is usually enclosed within the double quotation mark, as you can see in case of Arial. However, we can skip that. That is not a mandatory requirement. We can simply ignore anything and we can write Arial, the word Arial, without any quotation mark also. That would be valid. Then the size attribute in the font tag can be used. Its range is from 1 to 7. Here I have used the value of the size attribute as 5, and without any double quotation mark, that would be fine. And I have enclosed the word and. So the word and would be displayed with the font size 5. Then another attribute of font you can see is color. When this keyword color is used as attribute for font tag and I give its value red, green, blue, whatever, the enclosed text would be then displayed in that color only, in that ink only. So e-commerce word would, whenever be displayed, would be displayed with red ink. Now I want to tell you further that all these different attributes of font tag can be used at the same place in a single tag. As you can see in the 4th bullet point, font, then I use its size attribute, size 5, color red, face Arial, and I contain 3 words, internet and e-commerce, font closed. Accordingly, the words internet and e-commerce, these words would be displayed with the font size 5 in color red. Accordingly, these words internet and e-commerce would be displayed in the font size 5, color red, and in the font type Arial. Then in order to create headings in HTML, we use heading tag. There are 6 different levels. So H1 up to H6, these are different levels of headings, different font size headings that we can create. H1 is the biggest heading, then after that is H2 level heading, so on, and H6 would be the smallest heading in text. At this point, I would like to show you, demonstrate you how we can see the HTML code processed or executed or interpreted by the browser. In the slide before you, there is a code. You can see starting with the HTML tag, then come the head tag. Head tag has got nothing enclosed in it. Then comes the body tag, and in the body tag I have used the heading tag, the greatest heading, level of heading, H1 tag. I have written one sentence. This is my main title. After that I use a paragraph tag and I write, here is the first paragraph. This is sum. After sum I use the bold tag. Immediately after that I use the italic tag and I enclose two words, bold, text, and then I close the italic tag and I close the bold tag and I optionally close the paragraph tag. Afterwards there is another paragraph tag. I have used the font tag in it, face, Arial, and I have written this text is in the Arial font. Then I close the body tag, I close the HTML tag, and when we view the result of this code, we have got this screenshot before you. Here I would like to demonstrate to you how do we view the results in the browser. What are the steps that are required to be taken to display, to view the source code. In the first step, I open a text editor like Notepad or WordPad, and then I type away the code in that text editor, as you can see. Afterwards, I use the file menu to save this code. I save this file as a text file. Say I have named it as 1.html. Remember, you will always use the extension HTML. You will save it in HTML format. I save it, say, in the desktop. Afterwards, I open my browser, say Internet Explorer. I use the file menu. I use the option open, and there appears before me a dialog box. I use the option browse, and here is on the desktop listed a few files before me. I had saved it as 1.html. I select 1.html, I open, then I do OK, and here you see the result shown to you by the browser. Your code has been interpreted, and you can see the heading, this is my main title. Afterwards, because of the paragraph tag, there is the line break, then the line space, and then you can see the second line. Here is the first paragraph, and then you see this is some bold text. Remember, we had used the bold as well as italic tags in order to create this effect which is shown on the words bold text. Because of the paragraph tag, again there would be a line break, line space, and then the next sentence, this text is in the Arial font, would appear. Assuming that I want to make changes in my web page, what are the steps required for that? For that, I again go to my source code in the Notepad. I do the changes, assuming that in the heading, instead of the sentence, this is my main title, I just type hello. After doing this change, a simple change, I would again save this file, and then I would use the refresh icon. Refresh icon is shown in the top bar. As you can see, the two arrows in the opposite direction. If I use this refresh icon, I get my result amended. So you can see now the words hello, they have replaced the earlier text. So in this way, whenever we want to make changes in our web page, we first of all do those changes, then we save again, and then we use the refresh option. Remember, we can also use F5 in case we do not want to use this icon. We simply use F5 to get the refreshed result. Also, we can use the view menu, and there we can use the refresh option. Again, the same effect would be displayed to you. So these are the steps which you need to know, how to view your results in the browser and how to do the changes in your web page and to view the results accordingly. Then I should point out to you that there is a shortcut also available. In case I do not undergo all these different steps, I do not take all these different steps, this is possible that I just double click on the file which is shown with the blue color E sign. So as you can see, there is that file available. If I double click on that file which is appearing with the blue colored E sign, then again I get my result automatically displayed. This is a shortcut and I do not have to take all those different steps to view my result. Wherever I store my file in HTML format, my file, wherever I store that, it would be shown against the blue colored E sign. And by double clicking on that E sign, I can then view my result. Next, we want to see how can we create lists using HTML and how can we create horizontal bars, horizontal lines using HTML tags. As you can see in the slide before you, there is plain HTML code starting with HTML tag, then body tag. In order to create a list, the syntax says that I start with a UL tag or unordered list tag. Wherever I want to create bullets, lists in terms of bullets, I use UL tag or unordered list tag. This has got its corresponding closing tag represented with \UL, as you can see below. Within the UL starting and closing tags, I have used 3 list items or LI tags. They have got their closing tags and I have listed 3 items. Item 1 in the first LI tag, then item 2 in the second, then item 3 in the third LI. Then I use a paragraph tag to get a line break and a line space. Assuming that I also want to list these items in the number format, for that purpose there is a slight change. Instead of UL, then I use OL tag or ordered list tag. It has got its corresponding closing tag. In between, I use 3 LI tags as before. Item 1, item 2, item 3. These are the items I want to be displayed. Then because of the paragraph tag, there is a line break, a line space, and afterwards I have used an HR tag. HR tag is to create horizontal lines. It has got different attributes as are shown. The width attribute, I have kept its value as 50%. That means that the width of this horizontal line should be up to the 50% of the total width of the browser window. Then size attribute, I keep its value 5. That would determine the thickness of that line. A line attribute, I have kept its value as center. By default, this line would also appear in the center of the browser window. I can keep the value of a line as left. In that case, this line would start from the left end. Then I have used the attribute no shade. No shade would give it the effect of a solid line. Otherwise, it would appear as a hollow horizontal line. After that, I close the body tag, I close the HTML tag, and you can view the result of this code as is shown before you in the slide. As you can see in the slide, because of the unordered list tag, these items from item 1 to item 3, they are listed against bullet points. Then because of the paragraph tag, a line break, a line space, and then due to the ordered list tag, these items are again listed against numbers 1, 2, 3. And because of the HR tag, you can see the horizontal line at the bottom. We can use the attribute type both for UL tag and OL tag, and we can keep different values for the type attribute. For example, in case we want these items to be listed against squares instead of bullets, then we can keep the value of the type attribute in the UL tag as square. So accordingly, then the result would be displayed against squares. Similarly, I can keep the value as circle or disk in case of UL tag. In case of ordered list tag, OL tag, again I can use the type attribute and I can use different values for this attribute, assuming that I want the list to be created alphabetically, say A, B, C, etc. instead of numbers. Then I can fix the value of the type attribute as A. If I want it to be in lowercase, then small a would be the value of type attribute. If I want it to be in uppercase, this listing to be in uppercase, then the value of type attribute in uppercase as capital A. Similarly, if I want the list to be created in Roman numerals, small or big, accordingly I can keep the value of the type attribute as such, and the list would be then created in that format only. By default, the ordered list tag, OL tag, creates the list using 1, 2, 3, these numbers. And by default, the unordered list is created against bullet points. Thereafter, we want to see how can we incorporate pictures, images in our HTML page. What is the syntax for that? So we can make our websites colorful, attractive by incorporating pictures, images, etc. One simple way to incorporate pictures, images is that we use these ready-made pictures from various sources. Say if we visit a website, we like a picture placed there, what we can do is we can download that picture very easily. We right-click our mouse on that picture, there would be a box appearing before you, and we can use save picture or save picture as option to save that, to download that picture, that image in our hard disk. And subsequently, then we have the image tag, the prescribed tag, using which we can apply that downloaded, saved image on our web page. You should know that for images, there are different formats like GIF format, JPG format, BMP format. We can change the name of the image. When we save that image, when we download that image, we certainly can change the name of that image. However, we cannot change its data type. We cannot change the GIF into JPG for that matter. Right? For that, you need to have a special software that can change the format. Then you should be careful about one thing, that your image which you want to apply in a web page, it should be stored preferably in the same folder, in the same place where your main source code, HTML code is residing, in which you want to apply this image. If you do not do that, if your image file is somewhere else and your source code is in some different folder, then you should provide the full path of your image file where it is residing. Say it is residing in C:\my documents /folder1 /image.html. Then you provide all this path where this image file is actually stored. So in order to save this typing effort, you prefer to save your image in the same folder, same place exactly where your HTML code is hosted or placed. I want to show you an example here that would illustrate the syntax for applying images. Say I want to apply the logo image of virtual university in my web page. For that, a very simple code that I need to write, starting with HTML tag, then body tag, then I have inserted a heading tag, writing on sale cassettes. Then I would use the image tag. The syntax is that I write 3 letters img, then I use its attribute src, source, and then I put its value as that image file name, which image I want to apply on my HTML page. I have, assuming, stored this image file, this view logo, in the same folder where this code is residing, and I have named this image as cassette.gif. Then after applying the image tag, there is the body tag, then the HTML tag, and you will see the result before you in the slide. You see, the tags, they are processed in order, in descending order. First of all, the heading tag would be processed and on sale cassettes is displayed. Afterwards, because of the image tag, the VU logo is displayed. This is a screenshot which shows how this code would be processed and would be displayed. We can use certain attributes prescribed for image tag. So therefore, we have align attribute. We can use that in the image tag. We can fix its value as middle or left or right. So accordingly, our image would be aligned as such. By default, it would be aligned on the left side. Then we can use width and height attributes to prescribe, to fix the size of the image. So if I say that width of this image should be 50%, that would mean that the width of this image, the size of this image should be enlarged such that it spans over the 50% of the total window's width. Similarly, using height attribute, I can fix the height of this image, the height size of this image. If I keep height equal 75%, that would mean that this image should be such big that it should stretch up to 75% of the total height of the window screen. Then it is possible that we create our own images. We can prepare images on our own. There are certain graphics packages like Photoshop, CorelDRAW, Flash, Paint, etc. Using these different graphics packages, we can prepare our own images. Instead of downloading these images from certain other websites, we can prepare these images ourselves. And then again, once we create these images in these packages, then we can utilize them using the image tag on our website in the same fashion as you saw just before. Next, I want to tell you how we can create hyperlinks in HTML. You must have noticed that on the web, on the internet, there are documents which are interlinked with each other with the help of certain clickable links. How do we do that in HTML? In the slide before you, you can see there is a heading, computer science, and then there is a sentence, welcome to Virtual University in Pakistan. You can notice that the words Virtual University, they are clickable here. They are in blue. How do we do that? In the slide before you, you can see that we start with the HTML tag, then body tag. Then we have used a heading tag H1 in which I have written computer science. After that, the sentence goes as welcome to, and then after to, I have used a special anchor tag, A tag. Anchor tag, and I have used its attribute href, hyperreference. And I have put its value as http://www.vu.edu. Then I close this starting anchor tag and I write the words Virtual University. After that, I close this anchor tag and I continue with my sentence by writing words in Pakistan. So, because the words virtual university, they are enclosed within the anchor tag, they would attain this effect that they would automatically become clickable. And when a user would click these words, virtual university, he would reach the destination, the URL, which is represented as value of the attribute href, and that particular web page www.vu.edu would be opened. So in this way we can create hyperlinks, we can make text clickable. Remember, we can also make images clickable in this fashion, and I would let you know the syntax for that subsequently. We can also use the anchor tag for email purposes. So as you can see, I have used the anchor tag, then href equal, then I write the keywords mail to, then colon, and I have written an email address vtv@hotmail.com, and then I close the words email address, and then I close anchor tag. Automatically the words email address would become clickable. When a user would click these words, then because of the mail to link I have used here, the Microsoft Outlook Express would open a box in which this address would automatically be printed, the address vtv@hotmail.com. I would simply be then required to write my email message, and by clicking send button, I would send this message to vtv@hotmail.com. So this is how the mail to link can simplify the procedure of sending emails. I may also point out here that instead of keeping a web page as destination, as was the case in the example before you, that I clicked at virtual university and I reach a web page, this is also possible that instead of keeping a URL as value for the href attribute in the anchor tag, I put some file name as a value for href. For example, href equals file.asp. So that would mean that by clicking virtual university, the user would reach a file which would be contained in this particular case in the same computer machine where this HTML code is residing. This means we are not working on the internet. We have prepared certain files on the same computer machine, and we want to link up these files accordingly. Right? So this is how we can create hyperlinks and internet documents with the help of the anchor tag and href attribute. So dear students, that was about the main tags of HTML that can be used for formatting text, for creating hyperlinks, for inserting images, for the creation of horizontal lines, for preparing lists, etc. In the subsequent lecture, inshallah, we shall be dealing with some other important functionalities of HTML, some more important tags, and also we shall see as to how we can create tables in HTML and what is the syntax prescribed for that. Until then, I say you goodbye. Allah Hafiz.